Have you guys asked yourself the question, should I buy an iPhone 6s or a OnePlus 3T? Well, I'm going to help you answer that question in this video. Coming up right now, let's go. What is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And should you buy an Apple iPhone 6s or a OnePlus 3T? In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 of my experiences rather than talk about just specs to help you out in making this decision, giving you as much information as I possibly can to help you with this purchase decision. Some people might be going with an older 6s or the older 3T as the OnePlus 5 is on the way and the prices are coming down, and this video should help you do that. So let's get into that. Now, when speaking about hardware, my experience with the hardware on both of these have been great. Now, both of them do feature aluminum bodies, so you're going to see the 6S is extremely high quality here, as well as the 3T. But I like the 3T's build quality a little bit better because it's the same, if not identical to the 6S, but a lighter aluminum. So just as sturdy, but aluminum is a little bit lighter. Here on the 6S, it's a little bit heavier, so it doesn't feel quite as good. And I think my grip on the 3T over time has been a little bit better than the grip on the 6S. It's a little bit slipperier to me on the 6S, but both of these are not the most grippy phones, but that square design on the 3T lends to me saying that the hardware is probably a little bit more enjoyable for me on the 3T. So when we're talking about portability between the 6S and the 3T, we're talking about the 6S definitely a more portable smartphone. The 3T is actually pretty good in terms of design, in terms of putting a 5.5 inch display in that body. I mean, the 6S, if you look at it, it's almost the same size, even though the 3T has a 5.5 inch display. So you definitely get much more display on the 3T and close to a similar sized body here. So I would give it the edge in the 6S. It's a little bit easier to one-hand the 6S, and there's not a lot of one-handed features for the 3T, making my option for the more portable phone. So if you're looking for a smaller smartphone for portability, go with the 6S all day, every day over the 3T. Now the iPhone 6S, in terms of its display, is a 326 pixels per inch retina panel with pretty color accurate colors here for this display. It's not P3, but it's very good here, and it's pretty sharp nonetheless. But I do think that the OnePlus 3T with its optic AMOLED display is just a bit better and punches above the 6S. So if you're looking for one of these smartphones for display, I definitely have to recommend the 3T. It's just a very vibrant, clear to see outdoors display here. So 3T wins it for me in the display department. Now, I have not yet run a speed test between the 6S and the 3T, but I can tell you right now, both of them feel about identical in performance, and this is not going to be a deciding factor. The OnePlus 3T does have 6 gigs of RAM, whereas the 6S has 2 gigs of RAM, but iOS is just pretty fast no matter how much RAM you have with it. It does not really matter. It's super optimized. Now, 1 gig of RAM is a little bit low on the iPhone series of smartphone, but the 6 gigabytes of RAM on the 3T is might be a little bit overkill. I think Android only needs about 4 to run super efficient in some optimized stock Android, which a 3T has. So the 3T will show its stuff in higher graphical stuff and a little bit heavier things, maybe multitasking a little bit sometimes over the 6S, but it's not incredibly faster over the 6S. So performance wise, it's not really a deciding factor here. Both are going to be very fast. Now, if you're deciding to buy the 6S or the 3T when it comes to the camera, we're talking about a 12 megapixel iSight 4K camera here, also does 60 FPS. Same here on the 3T, but you get a 16 megapixel camera, 4K, 60 FPS recording. The front-facing cameras on these guys are not a draw. The 3T just absolutely demolishes the 5 megapixel sensor here in the 6S. 6S does pretty good with its software optimization of the camera and the sensor, making for a very clear picture here. But the 3T with its 16 megapixel sensor, I actually live streamed on this earlier today. It's just really a beast in this department. So 3T hands down one of the best selfie cams on the market. So if I was to pick one of these for the camera, I would go with the 3T. I think it does a little bit better than the 6S overall, pretty much all around in my personal experience. Alright guys, so in terms of battery life, I do think that the OnePlus 3T is going to be your better phone. So if you're looking at one of these and you want the best battery life, go with the 3T. It lasts longer than the 6S, and it also has much faster charging. I mean, this thing will charge 30 to 100 in about 25-30 minutes in my experience. So dash charging is legit. The 3T's battery life better than the 6S, and this is another win here for the 3T. Now you guys know if you've watched this channel that I am not at all the biggest gamer, but I can tell you right now that the 6S is your phone if you want a gaming phone. The 3T will do a great job at gaming. It's just going to load faster on the 6S. The 3T is going to give you a better media experience in terms of the screen and size. So if you care more about that, go with the 3T. And in terms of overall performance, developers updating their games and improvements to the games, the iOS platform is the better choice here for that. In terms of their speaker phones, they're both decently loud. I think the 3T is a little bit louder in my experience. So if you wanted to choose one of these for audio though, the 6S does have better audio through the headphones. So you got to make up your mind there. Do you want external audio? Go with the 3T. Do you want better audio from the headphone jack? Go with the 6S. Now the 3T, since we're down here talking about this, does have USB-C lightning port on the 6S. So I do think the 3T is better, as Apple is going to move to USB-C even on their latest iPad Pro. So go with the 3T for better future proof in terms of the charging. So if you bought one of these phones today in 2017, you said, I'm gonna get a 6S or I'm gonna get a 3T, which one is going to be the more future proof phone? Well, both extremely great build. The 6S, to me, in my opinion, looks outdated in terms of its design. It's about 3 years old now. We're looking for something new in iPhone. So the 3T has a fresher look, in my opinion. Now, software-wise, the 6S is going to outdo the 3T in years to come when it comes to software. Apple will keep this thing updated for years to come. So if you care about your software being updated frequently, the 6S is the only choice here. Now, the 3T does get pretty frequent updates, and there's a very, very dedicated community around the OnePlus series and brand. So I would expect this to improve over time, but I do think for now I have to recommend the 6S for future-proof software. Hardware, I do believe that the 3T is ahead of the 6S in all aspects in hardware. So you gotta choose. Do you want better hardware? Go with the 3T. Do you want better software? Go with the 6S. Both phones won't disappoint though. So which is going to be the more productivity oriented phone? And I think that's going to really come down to, do you use Apple services more or Google services more? But if we want to talk about a hardware perspective, I do think the 3T with its larger screen is just going to be more efficient. Bigger keyboard means faster typing for most people, and it does have the Google services. So for me, the 3T is the more productive phone. For you, it might be the iPhone 6S. Both are pretty equal in this regard though. So in conclusion, should you buy the iPhone 6S or the OnePlus 3T? In my experience, I would go with the 3T. I think it just offers way more at the same or similar price point as a 6S used here 2017. So a 6S is around $500 used, depending on where you get it. New, pretty much new for $440 some places as well. So you can find it used or new from $350 to $500 on the 6S. On the 3T, you're looking at about $400, $350, right around there. With the OnePlus 5 announcement, it should come down to about $300 or $250. But both of these are extremely up to date, extremely fast smartphones, even though the 6S is a couple years old now. But I would go with the 3T if it was me. Which one would you go with? Comment that down below. Subscribe to the channel to learn so much more and master the technology you use every day. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I will catch you all in the next one, and peace.